Oh, g'day again. Okay, wasn't going to do another video until I'd finished the side, but just want to show you a little technique that I learnt. I learnt this from another YouTuber, Fitzy's Fabrications, and yeah, I'll leave the link in the description. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to learn this sort of stuff, yeah, don't learn from me, learn it from a professional. And yeah, the reason why I'm doing this is there's a couple of reasons. One is I've still got all the structure on the inside. I was gonna cut it. I was gonna fit it exactly where the ridge is, where your wheel arch starts, but I can't get in there to mark it properly. I don't want to cut it short, and then yeah, so I'm laying it against it, and I'm made it a bit bigger than what it needs to be. So, as close as I could guess, without cutting it too short. There's several advantages to this process, and the biggest advantage is that, so if I was to cut this, as I said, there's a good chance I'll cut it short and muck it up. But the other reason is I cut this whole inner structure away from this panel. It's going to be flopping around. It's going to be all over the place. So yeah, by leaving the original structure on there, you're pressing against it, and that's holding the panel straight. And so what you do is you cut a couple of inches at a time. You put a few tacks, which is what I've done there, and then you cut a bit more. And yeah, after you've tacked it, then you get around on the inside and pull the excess away from it. Right. So I'll do another cut. Firstly, I'll get the paint out of the way. And yeah, you can grind a little bit with a cutting blade. This is a thin 1mm cutting blade. As long as you're very light, you put any sort of pressure on it sideways, you're going to break it and it'll fly off and probably do you an injury. But yeah, you can use it, just be careful. It's said don't put any pressure on it, just be very light. It's plenty good enough for just taking paint off. Yeah, what's happening here too, normally on a flat panel, I'm a bit sloppy at that. I'm giving myself a bit of a gap. That wasn't real good. To do with the angle of the grinder. I've just forgotten a major thing too that Fitzy taught me, is to hold the grinder at an angle so you don't get this big gap on there. So yeah, I've already mucked it up a bit, but anyway, we'll get by. Right, I can't really sort of tap that down because the whole inner structure is holding it out. So yeah, and I used to use a screwdriver for this, but you find the screwdriver's too big. Well, it'll fit in this gap because I've got a bloody big gap here. But normally a screwdriver wouldn't fit in the gap. And the other reason the screwdrivers don't narrow, when you pull it down, you're going to put a slight dent in your panel. So yeah, that's why I've gone to using this. Because it's a wider area pulling it up. It's a little bit flexible, and it's thinner. It can fit in the gap quite easily. All right. So pull that up. Where's it flush? Can we flush it so right away? without pulling it up. See what I'm doing here. So because I've given myself too much gap here, it's a bit rough with the cutting. Concentrating on making the video instead of concentrating on what I'm doing. But yeah, so what I'm doing now is just dab, 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 and then put a tack. So you build up the metal a little bit before you try and tack it. If I just go to try and tack that with a gap like that, it'll just blow on it. Come on. Still do. Yeah. I don't want to do any more than that right at the moment. A couple of reasons. I've got to get the excess off the back of it, and not only that, by the time I get along a bit, it may well have moved. I may have to cut a tack or something and shift it in or out or something, do something to it. So yeah, so I don't want to. I don't want to fully weld it until I'm sure I've got it right. So, see if I can do a better cut this time. This time I actually remember the angle of the grinder. The other thing, this is another reason why I've got a big gap in there too, is that, you know, push the grinder in, I'm cutting a circle, so, you know, your grinder will cut a straight line, so when I've pushed the grinder in too far, and that's what's widening it out, I think, more than anything else. But yeah, I've got a much better gap in there this time. So, you see, when you pull things over a bit, you got not enough gap. I didn't give myself enough gap. If it was flat, I could just tap it in, but so I can't just tap it in because I've got all that structuring behind it. Yeah, yeah, we're getting there. Don't stay there, will you? Right. That sort of worked a whole lot better. So that's pretty good. Pretty flush. Yeah. Right, we'll show you what else we've done. Oh, this is the other. This is the quarter panel I cut off there, and I chose to use that because I don't have any any new panel anyway. I've got to reuse old panel. I don't buy and use still, but it's already the right shape. It already had this curve in it, and as I explained in the last one, I didn't want to just weld it straight on and have it welded on and have this curve just running straight. I wanted to try and arch it, yeah, in the same fashion as up here. I think I've sort of achieved that, but yeah, what I did was I put it about a ½ inch higher, and so it was like up here and up here, and he actually tacked it on down here, cut the bottom, tacked the lad on. Yeah. Not as much as it was, but I had enough tacks to hold it. Yeah, and then I drew the line, cut it, pulled it in, and that has worked quite well. Then I got on to the next section. I could cut this down here. I couldn't bring that panel round. It was just going to kink. It just wanted to kink up here. Couldn't just pull it. So I cut the extra piece off. And then tacked it onto here. I'm wondering actually, if I'd just cut the curve off. So you wouldn't want to bend because they had that curve in it, and that was why it was kinking. If I'd just cut the curve off, I might have been able to pull it in without it kinking, without having to do this extra weld. But anyway, yeah. So I put it on, I tacked it down here. I actually had to put a tacks in here too, because that one had just popped down, and yeah, the panel in behind here was all out of shape, and I sort of hammered it up. I didn't want to stay there, so yeah, I put a couple of tacks in it, keep it in place. So yeah, so the lid's actually tacked to the inner panel at the moment. But yeah, and then I pushed it in. I pushed in both panels, marked it on the inside, cut it off, and then it was still too sharp. I still didn't want to work. I couldn't really push it in enough to mark it and cut it and whatever, so I used a ratchet strap. Yeah, so I had this ratchet strap on there, and I initially put it, where did I have it? I had it hooked onto here because I didn't have this panel on. I had it hooked onto here, up across here, pulled that in, but I still couldn't pull the top in. I tacked it, and then I hooked it up here, which is why the panel's all pulled out, and I straighten it up. Run that across, drew it in, and yeah, then I had to cut the tacks that I'd already pulled in it, and because it wanted to close in further, and I had to do that several times. And pull it in, tacked it, looked at it, cut it, pulled it a bit more, tacked it. Yeah, still wasn't enough. Cut it again, etc. So yeah, I did that probably 3 or 4 times at least. That I've pulled it in further and further and cut it and re-tacked it. But yeah, as I said, I'm sort of now thinking that it may well have actually curved around had I just cut this bendy part off the top of it. Yeah, curve that around, tack it down here somewhere, and then cut the then cut and tack that. But anyway, it's on there, it works. Down here is a bit of a different matter. It's not blending in that well. This is curved in too far. This is curved in too far. And yeah, because they're crown panels, they didn't want to pull out either of them. So that's why I put the cuts in them. But yeah, I'm creating myself a lot of work here trying to do it that way. And as I said, I've still got to put a patch in here, so, and a patch in here. So I sort of stopped for the moment, and I wanted to see how much excess was left on the back panel out of that roof, which is why I actually started doing that, because I knew I'd have some left over. But yeah, I don't think I've got enough. As I said, what I'm thinking now is to just do, yeah, one patch. I'll put it on here, maybe even bigger than that, depends, you know, like I just overlap it. When it's flat, when it doesn't dip in anywhere, well, then that'll, yeah, dictate where I cut it from. So, but yeah, that's the reason I hadn't gone any further with that. But yeah, I said I don't know that I've really got enough left anyway. I do have some other panel. I've got some flat panel out the back there. Got some washing machine panels. Yeah, you might get enough left out of that. That's what's left of the, I was going to say half a roof, third of the roof, because I've already cut a section off anyway for the roof of the trailer. Yeah, might be enough to do that. Yeah. Alright, well, yeah, so well, in case you hadn't seen it, yeah, this is the whole structure that sort of made it impossible to mark exactly where I got to cut the panel. And yeah, works quite well, this roof panel. Sort of, yeah, being already crowned, it works good. It's got a real nice shape, and if I just put a flat panel on it, it would be flat down here. It wouldn't curve the way this does. So yeah, the roof panel's working rather good. But yeah, as I said before, I didn't want to cut any of this structure away until I finished paneling, until I got all the panels right, because yeah, the moment I do that, it can move around. So yeah, don't want it moving. Alright, I think that's just about it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hit like, please. I'm getting a reasonable amount of views on these videos, but nobody hits like for, oh, I wouldn't say nobody, I get a few, but yeah, just makes me wonder, you know, if I like most of the videos I watch, I hit like. It's just unless there's something I specifically don't like about it, then I won't hit like. But yeah, most of the time I just do it anyway. But I suppose it doesn't really matter that much. I'm not going for monetization or anything. I'm just sharing what I do, and basically I enjoy what I do. Most of what I do anyway. And, yeah, just standing here looking at it now. At the moment it's looking a bit like a dodgem car. It's a dodgem car shape. Yeah, it'll look different when it gets the guard and the wheel back on. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, let's watch them. We'll catch you again later, hopefully. Bye.